So I love the idea of instilling a growth mindset. That we're trying to do that, not always gracefully, but we're trying to do that as often as we can. But what I'm really good at is catastrophizing.
Yeah.
Like, that is my jam. And for me, it's especially hard because I feel like the whole process of going to college is so significantly different than when I was in school, right? Like, you had SATs and you had an essay, and it was all very, structured. And now it feels like that whole process is very different. This year it's blind testing, next year it's not, right? Like, it just has changed so much. Now we're doing short essays instead of long ones. And so I start to get really nervous that, like, oh my gosh, like, what is it going to be next year? What do I don't know about, right? And then you feel compelled to, like, well, do I need to go hire somebody, right? And there's that financial obligation, and also the shame of, like, hey, that's a privilege to be able to hire somebody, right? Other people can't. It's just like this compounding thing, right? And so, like, what steps or tips would you have for parents who kind of go through that catastrophizing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you've identified it as catastrophizing, which is huge, right? Catastrophizing is one of many different cognitive errors that we can make, right? Where you're kind of thinking in really black and white terms. It's not like, maybe they won't, like, they might get into college, they might not. It's like, they'll never get into college. I'll never figure it out. The most horrible thing is going to happen, right? And so the first step to kind of fix it is to recognize it. And it's to kind of step back a little bit, right? Like, does it have to be the worst possible thing? You could even use words like could, like, it's going to be this bad. Could it be that bad? Is there a world where it could be a little bit better? What would that look like? What steps could I take to kind of make that true? And it just sort of softens a little bit kind of what you're going through. This is another spot where I think in our kind of cognitive triad, changing the feelings can be really useful, right? Often changing our feelings or just doing things where we just, like, downgrade the anxiety just a little bit, right? Because a lot of the catastrophizing comes from the fact that we're really riled up, we're really anxious about things, right? And again, this is not being accusatory. It's normal, it's normative to feel anxious being a parent with all these changes. It's normative to feel anxious just being in the world, like, with everything that's happening in the economy and the climate and politics, and, it's normal to feel riled up. But there are strategies you can use to kind of breathe a little bit, calm down a little bit before you kind of go back to it. A really simple one that sounds so cheesy but can be really powerful is just to get into your senses. You do label 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It's like, oh, I can see the bottle, I can see the rug, I can see, you're thinking in your head as you're doing it, what else can you see in the room? Now, 4 things you can hear. Maybe my voice, the hum, like listening outside, maybe students tapping, but like, kick back. What? You're not nervous. You have to put so much cognitive energy into going through all those steps that when you're done, you're not as stuck as much in this ruminative spiral. And that can be a powerful technique for kind of doing more. And so when you're in catastrophizing mode, it means you need some help to kind of step back, I think, in terms of your feelings, but then also to correct some of those thinking errors. And we'll have some other strategies to do that. But it's so essential that you do that because it's hard for parents to do that, but we got our frontal lobes are done, we got our adults, we had, didn't have our helicopter parent, we knew how to do this, right? It's harder for our kids. And when they see us in catastrophe mode, it makes them think that's truth. Right? They don't have as much wherewithal to realize, well, it doesn't have to be that way. And so it's useful for you to work on it yourself so that you don't kind of bring that to them, which again, so hard, but if you can achieve it, it can be so helpful.